It is Tuesday, December 17th for the meeting of the Hardwick Board of Commissioners meeting. Present is Reno, myself, Michael Ambrosino, Miles, and Roger, commissioners. Lynn is not with us tonight. Scott Johnson, general manager at the moment, is here, and Beth is ready. We'll get started and be quick. So I think we have an opening forum. We have an agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda? Any additions? None? On to the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
There were a couple of mistakes in there that I have fixed.
Awesome, yes.
Roger did not attend in Zoom and in person. Lynn said he's good and he's not that good. So I did make that correction to him already.
So these have been fixed already?
Yes. What you have is the old version. I made the correction
Oh, okay.
today.
Anybody else have any more additions, changes? Yeah, volunteered. That's why you should have been here last time. You could have volunteered. Don't ever be absent. If there are no changes, and we can motion to approve the minutes. Okay. All in favor? Passed. Public comment? I don't see any public here.
Could you just check and make sure nobody's trying to get in? You're good. Only one participant, that's you. Just wanted to check. Never know.
All right, we need approval of the loan as the next item.
We had talked about this last time and Beth has gotten a bid together for a capital loan for the various improvement projects, the roofs, and various things like that, the office improvements. And that's what's in front of you, and Beth can talk to you about the particulars of the quote she's got, if you want more detail.
So the roofs themselves cost about $100,000. And then as we dive into more renovations at the office today, we even found out the compressor. Is that what it is?
Compressor for the heat pump, it's
Is-
only 4 years old. It's
is
no good.
gone. So the $150,000 is to cover the rest of the office building over here. I don't want to say we're gutting it because we're not, but we're making necessary changes that have been needed for 30 years. Plumbing, things that are bringing it up to code, plumbing, wiring, all kinds of things that are needed.
Is the ramp part of this?
Yes,
And is there heat now? You said the compressor?
yes, we've got the baseboard heating.
Okay.
And the heat pumps do work, it's just because of the condition the pressure's in, it keeps throwing the breakers. Okay, so we can reset it and it comes back on. So we're gonna wait till the spring to do it. He's gonna go ahead and order the parts for it because there's gonna be a price increase January 1. But they're gonna wait until the spring to do it when they can do it more quickly, cheaper labor.
Is he replacing just a compressor or the whole unit?
No, you have to replace all of them.
Yeah,
Set up
it is the compressor.
when we talk to the guy.
And this is a lump sum loan, not a,
Yes,
what happens if we don't use all the money? We get to give it back? What happens with the?
we'll use it all.
But if not, you should be able to just make an early payment back with
Yeah.
your balances.
Yeah. Okay.
But I anticipate very much using every bit of it because we keep finding things
And
that,
this is something we all have to sign or we're good?
just a majority. I have the actual documents here. We can sign them now or when we're done.
And while she's digging that out, this will then go to the select board at their next meeting.
Yes,
So you know that.
Yeah.
That's
that
all
green
team up
dots
with that.
where I'll need to sign.
Yep, so we
An
keep
hour
up.
later, whatever you want.
Does this include the garage roof?
So, I'm sorry,
He just asked if it included the garage roof, and I said yes.
yes,
Now, the garage roof, the chimney never got fixed.
Okay.
That
Yeah, I
needs to be addressed.
heard about that, and I'm gonna get somebody to come look at that. So, the guys told me about that, we had our staff meeting last week.
No more water full in the lunchroom.
There's no water in the lunchroom, there's one small leak, so we have called them in for a warranty, and they're being incredibly responsive, they're coming right up. So I expected them to whine, because usually contractors do, and they were like, nope, we'll be right up. So they're coming up to take care of it, make it right, so.
Cool.
But at least it's not the lunchroom.
Lights on.
Right, exactly.
Brings us to the general manager's report.
Well, hang on a second,
Nope.
we have to, I'm gonna, the last time we did a note, I'm gonna read to you what was in the minutes. In case you wanna use that wording for this.
Make a motion, check.
Made a the last minutes that we did alone, it said made a motion, Commissioner Block made a motion to enter into a capital improvement note with Union Bank as set forth in the documents attached to the minutes. And further, they adopt the resolutions in that document entitled Town of Hardwick Electric Department Resolution Capital Improvement Borrowing. That's in the packet. So she didn't read everything that was in the packet. It was referred to in the packet.
But when you wanna make the motion, just refer to what she just said, she can write it in the minutes, as if you just said that.
So I move to approve a capital improvement loan taken from Union Bank as detailed in the proposal, the written proposal as part of the minutes.
Second. Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Scott, this is the shortest general manager report you've done.
I was saying about I do that on purpose, every place I've ever been this time of year, because nobody really wants to have long meetings.
Yeah.
To be honest, so, you know, I will tell you the ramp is, that piece is done, they've moved all their efforts inside across the street now, so. Well, that's good, we actually are now compliant with the state fire marshal, so we're no longer under that order. I think Sarah had a very good meeting with the staff last Friday, was it? Was it?
Yes.
We had first she came in and met with Beth and Brian, spent some good quality time with their management team. And then they went down and met the whole staff. I was there as well, but I think people were really open and she hit a lot of the notes they wanted to hear. So I think she's off to a good start with the team, and I think they were genuinely appreciative that she took time out of her last vacation for a while to come spend it with them. So I think it was a very good start. I don't know, Beth, you can speak for yourself. That was just my take of it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yep. So
When you're done with that, I do
Nope,
want
go
to
ahead.
mention one thing about the ramp.
Yep.
It does get melting from the roof right now, and we know it does. But the guttering they're gonna put up, all the guttering people are closed down for the winter. So Trevor's gonna, as best as he can, he's gonna keep it safe, but if there's ever a day that it's not safe and we can't keep it safe, we're just gonna close it off. And in the spring, we'll get the guttering to take care of it, in case you hear anything.
You can borrow my roof rake. I
there you go.
didn't even know there was a roof rake. It's like, that might.
It's an awesome tool. And I will say, it just seems like, I don't even know why, but it just seems like that has been in just this cascade of FEMA stuff. I know we did have a deadline for 2023. There's a bunch of deadlines for paperwork on that, from that event, and but I've just noticed that we kicked off the 24 event, and there's paperwork from 23, and the penstock dialogue's been going, so every time I turn around, she's just been knee deep in FEMA land, so just wanted to acknowledge that she's been carrying an awful lot of load as it relates to keeping that moving and making sure we're gonna get money coming. I know you do, you carry a lot, so just wanted to note that. And yeah, I am planning, I did talk with Sarah, I'm planning to be here at your January meeting just to be here for her. So she'll be the general manager, you'll be talking to her, but ask her as part of the transition, if that would be helpful, and any kid was interested, right, so I'll see you in January as well. So that's all I have.
Wow. Beth, you going home for the holidays?
I am, I'm going home in the morning.
Or tomorrow morning? We'll be back again, get the news.
Yes, I plan to stay a little bit longer in January with Sarah being here. Yep, I'll be back with you.
Great.
And I carry on when I'm not here.
I know. I get those emails. And you can hear me, I hear it. That's like every.
Yeah, but it-
Make a financial statement which. That's called, wow, can't see go through over there. Any comments to these financials?
we want to comment that some FEMA monies have been rolling in. And they're included in the budget as well because it's gonna be going on for at least 2 to 3 more years, the money coming in. And so one thing I was very happy about, we were originally told that the sluice gate, that if y'all remember, Mike, y'all probably here several years ago, y'all had talked about getting that sluice gate removed and getting it repaired, replaced, but then COVID hit and that all kind of got pushed to the back. Well, when FEMA came along and we said, if the sluice gate had worked, then our flooding wouldn't have been as bad. And they said, did it work before? Then we can't blame it. 2 or 3 months ago, sluice gate, they included it.
Oh, really? Good.
Yes, and to the tune of about 4.5 million.
Great. Wow.
And we've all, yes, I'm sorry, not million, 450,000, apologize,
Oh, good.
I was off by 1 decimal point. 450,000, and they've already pre-funded that 90% of that money. But keep in mind, every month, all the monies that we have coming in from 2023, 50% of that has to go to pay towards the Vermont Bond Bank loan. And if the money keeps coming in like it has been, we'll end up paying that off next year.
Great.
We're getting it done. If we get the money that I anticipate we'll get, we should be able to pay that off next year. And it's interest free because VLCT is paying the interest for 2 years on it.
Are we obligated to pay it upon receipt?
Once we receive 50,000, that's repayable, we have to start paying Vermont Bond Bank back, and we just now reached that threshold.
Okay.
So we don't actually we have to pay it within 45 days of reaching that threshold. That 45 days is gonna be in January, so I'm hanging on to that money as long as I can.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pay it to the last minute. And also, because it's kind of staggering in, Vermont Bond Bank, we've actually reached the threshold, but I know there's another big lump sum coming in. And I asked Vermont Bond Bank if I can hold off until that next big lump sum comes in, so that we're not paying now and later, and they've agreed to extend it a little bit, so that we don't make all these little payments.
How much are we looking at?
1.257. But right now, after we get this next FEMA payment, we'll be almost 300,000.
That was a really smart decision you guys made. We did not make that decision in Morrisville, and from a cash flow perspective, FEMA has been much more painful for us.
Yeah.
Because we did not do that, so congratulations on thinking about that early on, because we just missed that. So we were naive enough to think FEMA would actually pay in a timely way. Boy, did we learn that was not true.
Yeah.
And Vermont Bank said that, the bond bank said that of their recipients, we got the most.
That's great.
Really? Wow. I don't know if you know the answer to this, and we discussed it, asked it. What was the big increase in the O&M for distribution?
Based on the audit from last year, the storms that I have been collecting as, let me back up. The dollars for the floods that I have been collecting, in a pool. And based on the audit, how the auditors looked at the funds, I had to actually move some of those funds out into an expense account. It's for storm work. But I had been collecting, hoping I could capitalize it, and the auditor said, no, you can't.
There was somewhere else we just.
Yes, it was not an additional cash outflow. And I think we're through with this contractor.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, there's
We just.
we help them with the soft
I think
landing.
I
We
think
help them-
October was the last month we may have paid him once in November, but we're pretty much done with him.
We help them land in Barton who they needs. So they had a nice soft landing. We're very appreciative that we helped them with that.
And where are we with cash now, my hand? Sure, it's in here.
Now that we got I'm thinking November, this is just through October, but I'm thinking through November, we had. I think it was about $700,000 or $800,000 because we got a big FEMA thing coming in, but again, part of that's gotta go back to pay Vermont Bond Bank in
Right.
January. About 300,000 back, plus we've got the last payment on a note that we've had for quite a while, the last payment is in December of 100,000.
And that note's gone. We paid it, the note over.
It's in December that the payment comes due and that note will be done. That's been on our books for 10, 20 years. Something like that. Mhm. And so after December, we'll have the line of credit, the cash expense note, 500,000, and the Vermont bond rate. And then this one.
Yes.
So all old debt will be paid off as of December.
More comments of financials? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do the biggie, let's do the budget.
So this is my first stab at it, and sometimes I get so deep in the woods that I don't see the trees, or don't see the forest, I should say. I see the trees and I forget to see the forest. So something might jump out at you, you're gonna go, what does this mean? I go, oh, okay, that's something I need to look at.
We're really looking for fatal flaws and those sort of misses that we have. I was saying to Mike before we came in, I wanted to make sure that, well, she probably won't have a chance to become an expert at the budget, make sure that Sarah gets here and has enough time to spend some quality time with Beth to get a good feel for this, and she may have a couple of ideas of things that aren't currently in here that are going to be important for her. So, this is a working session to kind of get your input and see if we're missing the mark somewhere from your perspective, and go through the drivers that Beth listed.
So that's great. So we're not looking to have a vote to
No.
approve.
I never do budgets that way.
Thank you. That's always a breeze.
Was this April rate increases and assumptions? Something like
Yes.
that?
Yes,
What did we get last time?
Scott can probably tell you more about that.
Last time you got much less, what'd you get
We
last?
got like 8.
But this is about, but you filed for more than that, and they're now.
Yeah.
What I would say is Beth landed here because this is in the range of what all the communities are filing for. So we don't even know what you're gonna file for yet, because we're gonna base 2024 as your test year, so you're not gonna have final financials till like February sometime. And get ready to file in March, so we're not gonna know till like February what we're gonna file for.
Mhm.
But everybody is filing in 11 to 14 to 15 range. There's no reason, and they all have the same drivers. It's
Yeah.
power supply, employee cost, insurance costs of various types, all the stuff that's investment on. So there's no reason to believe we're gonna be that different. Plus, Hardwick and Morrisville got treated poorly because we went first last time by the department, and they didn't let us. We both got half of what we asked for. Everybody else actually did much better than Hardwick and Morrisville last time, because the department realized they pushed too hard on Morrisville and Hardwick. And so they're all pushing above in 2 figures, and they did better than us last round. So it's hard to imagine you're gonna be lower than this 12%. But we just had to pick a number to make an assumption for that.
Yeah.
So that's really is an assumption, but based on what we're seeing everybody else come in at.
When are we eligible for another one after that?
Most anytime you want,
Yeah.
where you're restricted some is if you do the 3% or less, which you have, it's not quite local approval, but it's close to local approval, you just have to file a letter.
I see.
You can only do that once a year. But on a full filing,
Yeah.
some places like, there was one time Stowe filed three separate cases and within a 6-month period. And they were all stacked up on each other. Because the department takes. I mean, if you file this in March, you probably won't get through the PUC till like December. But you can start collecting 45 days after you file.
Yeah.
Which is what she's assumed
Yes.
here.
So sorry, this isn't exactly budget, but for something like this with a double-digit percentage. What, do we start thinking about some sort of communications plan with ratepayers?
You definitely want to do that. One, you'd be mandated to do it, but when the day you file it with the department, you have to issue press releases.
that'll be a 45-day notice.
Yeah, but you don't want to wait to start talking about that, so like we
Yeah,
should,
this is big.
somebody should help Sarah to craft the message to put, not Sarah, Sierra, to put on Facebook, and you could use Front Porch Forum,
Sarah's good at that.
yeah, and
And why we're doing it and when we anticipate there being another one if we do.
And I know you haven't done a newsletter in like forever, but like in Morrisville, I make sure that in a couple of newsletters before we even get to the official notice and we do all kinds of social media, and we just start letting people know. And we always push the drivers, like,
So why don't we remember to do a bill stuff?
Yeah.
You know, the 2 months before.
Yeah.
So, because that doesn't really cost us.
To get technical, a stuffer does, but what does not cost us is we can print on the back of our bills. Anything we want to.
Yeah.
Anything we want to, we can print on the back of the bills.
social media doesn't cost you anything, and so there's a lot of ways to do it, is the point. Start doing that.
What's the breakdown, paperless bill recipients these days?
I don't know, I can check for it, but I don't know. And then some people get both.
I got both.
Do you want both? You don't have to have both. It's just like you.
Twice if you get both.
When you're over 65, you're allowed to get both.
One of the things I'll tell you that's in the power supply side is, that comes through VEPSA, but ISO New England's charges just for transmission this year are 20%. So a lot of this stuff, some of the messaging, it's not that it's 100% out of your control, like you're gonna go through the contract with the union, that's in your control, at least partially, you're a partner to it. But on most of these costs, power supply, transmission costs, those sort of things, you know, you're mandated to do it, you gotta pay the bills, to be an electric company. I'm gonna guess something like 70% of the cost drivers are not things you can control. Property taxes are through the roof, as we all know. Insurance costs are through the roof. So, you know, there's a piece of this that's controllable and decision making you make, but the majority is not of what you're gonna find in this budget. Not every year, that's true, but this budget is gonna be things that are really not in control.
I think the fact of other communities, having similar rate increases is
Yeah.
helpful in communications.
And you should, and between,
Yeah.
the other thing I'd recommend you do is have Beth and Sarah, when she's here, look at where this position in Hardwick Electric in the state.
Yep.
But while you're a little higher than Morrisville's, and after this you will be, but there's 2 ways to do it. You can either say that out of the whatever there is 15, I'm guessing you're gonna have to say that you're like the 4th or 5th most expensive. That's one way to say it. The other way to say it is that customers in Hardwick will pay less per kilowatt hour than 80% of the people in Vermont. But you're gonna be less expensive than GMP, VEC, Burlington Electric, and RAC. So you might be among the most expensive of the munis, I'm guessing, but people here are still getting a good deal statewide.
Yeah, that is the right.
So just say, that messaging is about how you tell your story, right? So you'll wanna actually do that math, I just did it ish in my head, and I'm not far off, but you wanna be able to justify that number. But that really does help when everyone says, oh my God, this is outrageous, not really, it will, you know. You could move into black territory, you could be paying 29 cents a kilowatt hour instead of where we're going, wherever it is.
Canadian hydropower, we need it pretty quick.
Yeah. So, just for what it's worth, and that's not, no rate increase is, no messaging helps people with a big rate increase feel better about it. But might make them a little less angry, right? No, for what it's worth. The only thing I asked Beth to add in here, only because I know you're gonna get forced to do it when you do your integrated research plan. The last system deficiency study Hardwick did was 1998, and the state requires them every 6 years. So I don't know how Mike got away without doing one, nor how he actually figured out what the real deficiencies on the system are. The point is to have a third party look at your system, so that you don't get stuck in your own thinking. Right? Not that anyone's been wrong, that's not the point, it's just that third party review, so there's, I think, is it 35,000 I asked you to put in there for that? I think it is.
Yes.
And that's about what these have been costing, that's like a phase one. And in a future year, if you are interested, you know, I just did what I call phase two in Morrisville, we looked at if the state policies about electrification come through, what will you need to do to your system if that happens? So we just finished an assessment in Northville of if you actually did 100% electrification, how much more money would we have to spend?
Yeah.
You know, and what would that do to rates? As when you and it's not as bad as you think, because for the first time in 20 years, you're gonna have increased sales. So you're extending that, but actually, for the first time in 20 years, your sales go up. So it's not the negative, Debbie down the story you might imagine it today. You know, so we just finished that analysis, and so, but I think you gotta do the first one first, you gotta know what's wrong with the system today.
Yeah.
You know?
Necessary.
So there's a couple of things that were added after we sent that out to you that Scott and I came up with. Phone system, if we can do it $50,000 for phone system, our phone system is antique. Even Lynn has mentioned it to me that we need to upgrade our phone system, but
You
more.
really should be voice over internet today, and we
Yes.
still have a phone system from 1960.
Yes.
So is this go hand in hand with a transition to any K broadband?
We're
As a
gonna,
VoIP provider?
Good,
we're gonna look at all the providers and see
Yep.
what's the best provider for us. We'll-
all I was
that's
saying
it.
was like, we literally are still,
No, yeah,
oh my God.
definitely good. Yep.
The other thing that we added, GIS mapping, and Scott can talk more to that, but that's 185,000.
Yeah, so, you know, we have this product, all of us members do called Empower, which is a way you manage during outages, and it uses GIS at its core. It really is the data system. It can show you where all the outages are. Once we have AMI, it'll be publicly available. There's all kinds of uses for this. You can do voltage testing through it, all kinds of things you can do. But you gotta have a core GIS now. We don't even have poll numbers in there. When we actually looked at what's in there, there is no data. Some of the wire sizing isn't labeled, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's just not there. I had initially thought, well, every winter we'll have the guys just spend a couple of weeks and, you know, and they should be able to fill in the gaps pretty quick. For whatever reason, we just never started. We have a tool and we never started with the data sets. So in talking with the crew, it's like, it'd take us 7 or 8 years, and by then it'll be out of date. So the only real practical way to do it is to hire a firm, just come in and do it in 2 months. And so I've got a quote for that, to get that done. That's if others join in, which they may, we may do this on our own, and then we do some financing on our own at the time. Or if multiple members of VEPSA do it, VEPSA is willing to finance it and have you pay them back over time, so you don't have to go through financing and put it on your debt stack. So I did check with them today on that, just so you know. But they're not gonna do that just for us, others have to join in. And we're not the only ones that have no data. I can just tell you, nothing to do with me, Morrisville, long before I got there, really got religion about GIS. And like, life is so easy, in comparison. You know, they don't even have the old books, in the trucks anymore, which you wouldn't like, they have tablets.
Yeah.
And they can put an outage in, they can clear it, they can pull, if they set a new pole, they can set the pole in it, put the birth date in it, and grab the GPS location while they're there. And the system always stays up to date. When you put in new underground, they just grab the data points while the trench is open, boom, they're all done. You never have to go back. So it's a pretty amazing system once you have it together. And then during outages, you sit there and you look at a TV screen and everybody that's out comes up in one shade of a star or another, depending on if they've been assigned, if we know they're grouped, you know, if it's a group outage or just the ones that do the, you know, and so somebody trying to figure out where is the next best place for us to go, nothing like a visual, right? Boom, it's right there, you're much more efficient in getting the outages taken care of.
Great, let's do it.
So that's what it gives you for power. You know, it really helps decision making.
And you can also see everything that you're headed for,
Exactly.
the pole, transformer, everything that's recorded and needed for information, so you make one trip, not three trips.
You're saying we have the basic information, we just have to put, we have the basic system in place.
We own the system, there's just very, very little data in it. I've even gone so far now that we've layered all our net metering into a separate layer for solar, which now means, I don't know who does it here, but we're required to give Velco and all kinds of information 4 times a year. I've just given them a read-only access to that data layer. We never fill out their stupid Excel spreadsheets anymore.
So the
File it.
yeah, the monthly charge that shows up here in our financials for GIS, is that the subscription?
That's for the software and to kind of keep the thing up to date and everything.
Okay.
And for some reason, we've been paying for that, but never bothered to get the data in the system. So the system is fully functional. It's just, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? Unfortunately, we can spend a ton of money for an inoperable tool.
Yeah.
Because of lack of data. It's a crying shame. So yes, that is exactly what it is. I don't, it's like 30 grand a year-ish. I'm assuming you're about the same as Morrisville that you pay for that system.
There anything buried in here that talks about the metering issues we've had in collecting old money as income, or is that, we tell those?
There's nothing in there yet because it's not, the 2 that we've already got, their revenues and their cash flows in there.
Right.
The 2 new ones are not, since we didn't have any definite information or definite amount to put.
Once those get resolved, then you can either do a budget adjustment mid-year with revenue, or you can just wait till the following year. Certainly by the end of next year, if you reach resolution, the auditor will require her to book it a certain way.
Yeah.
That'll all just happen.
And it's something Sarah will pick up when she starts. Okay, that along.
Yeah, so. Yeah, we need to be in executive session.
The jump in residential revenue, function of the rate increase,
Yes,
and the jump in property taxes,
that's how much property taxes
Okay.
are this year.
right?
Can you talk about, and I don't think it needs to be an executive session, but your current thought process with Sarah about operations. And because it doesn't look like in the head count here, there's an empty and open position.
Did we? I thought we did, right?
I,
Or is it in the numbers, just not on
it's
the
in the
list?
numbers.
Okay,
Members.
Good,
don't,
well,
we
that
don't,
answers.
we don't have timing yet. I had some of that conversation today,
Yeah,
but, you know, it's coming.
when did you start the expense, what month?
One ended in June, the next one started in August.
August, okay, so in the middle of the week. That's the placeholder plan, game.
Correct.
Okay.
And I have talked with Sarah about that general plan, not the details of it yet,
Yeah,
but she knows the concept and the other individual knows the concept.
and the key is that it's kind
We
of.
made room for it in the budget too, so that it wouldn't upset your apple cart if it happens.
Good. I had a whole bunch of stuff I was thinking and asking you, but I highlighted and everything, but you preempted it. You denied me the chance. The health insurance really is a huge increase over.
Yes,
But just be aware that to make it only be that, we switched health insurance plans. So
Did everything you could to mitigate.
we were a Blue Cross company and now we're an MVP. Blue Cross is 24, MVP is 11. Is that about right? The increases?
Yeah.
That's the numbers I've heard in various places, so.
so keep in mind, when you look at employee compensation, 24 versus 25, 24 was unusually low. Because our employee count is usually.
Yeah. Yes.
Which includes benefits, not just.
Everything, yeah, I was kind of skipping.
So it looks
over
kind of weird.
Yeah. Budget. And what the pension in earlier years, 22 and 23, the pension was 194. Then it went down to 125.
Last year.
And now it's going back up to the normal.
That would be,
Probably headcount again.
Whatever.
Alignment.
well, and it's that pension that they do that actuarial evaluation and he,
Oh, all right.
and the auditor
All
made,
right, so it gets prescribed to you.
yes.
Some of this
Yeah.
is related to headcount. If you don't have
I haven't
linemen,
looked at it.
Yeah, it would be.
because this is a percentage that we pay.
Well, they do it as of June 30. So it was June 30 of last year when we were fully staffed.
Is there any talk of? Or anywhere else about how the communities deal with this new normal for health insurance, or even for just municipal bodies in general?
No, you know, because honestly,
Yeah,
the days when associations could kind of be in that business were really before the American Health Act or whatever. So, that's why the Chambers of Commerce is all out of that business. They used to do the group pooling and they couldn't really compete once that system got created. So there isn't a lot of dialogue about that. It's, you know, what most people talk about is when they get into negotiating contracts is changing splits between what the employer pays and what the employee pays, and the union will have a perspective about that. You won't necessarily say no, but they'll expect more compensation if you're gonna ask for more of that. And, you know, and that'll be something you'll have to tussle with in the spring. Because you'll be negotiating by then, so. I suspect every union contract will be having that discussion because of these insurance increases.
So what's the percentage of benefit compared to salary? Approximately 40%.
Probably less than
It varies, but on an average.
44? Holy shit.
You're forgetting pension.
I looked at the
You're
benefits around.
thinking non-pension, right?
Holy smokes.
Thinking non-pension.
Wow, like corporate benefits are nothing.
Yeah.
Wow. That takes your breath.
Yep.
But all of our storm stuff, FEMA even pays the benefits, their portion of the benefits too.
What else? Well, you're only right at the apple.
That worked well.
And these capital budget items are just a total list of things we have to do, not necessarily this year. Like a bucket short of it.
We have a bucket truck in there we've been talking about,
Yeah.
and, there was a recommendation the previous year to begin to do some work to upgrade our main substation.
Yes.
I suspect that will almost surely come out of the system efficiency study, so I left it in there at least as a placeholder.
Okay.
If the system deficiency study comes back and says that's not the right place to start, at least you have some money in the capital budget to start making progress. You don't have to wait till 26.
Right.
So that's really why I left a little money in there on the capital budget with that.
So the column that says base 25, those are things that we know are happening. Sure.
Yeah.
That next column are things that we can either find financing for, or it might be able to put it off.
Yeah, I like that approach that we did last time. That worked, that seemed to work pretty good. Keeps it in our view.
Yes.
One thing I don't think we have in there yet, because I haven't been able to kind of get clarity with Brian on this. But I think we're there, but I haven't gotten there enough to be sure to give that even a slide number, but with all of the stuff that the fiber companies are paying for, we might be able, it might be that you should just wait till 26. But we don't budget anything for routine pole replacement in the distribution system. We do in the transmission system. And when we do the system efficiency study, one of the things we'll ask them is to make a recommendation of how many we should be doing in every year. But I'll say it should probably be something on the order, I'll bet you they come out between 170 and 200 poles a year.
What percent?
Say $5,000 a piece. So that would be, we have about 4,000, so it'd be a little under 5% a year for the last 4 years-ish, right? A pole, 4 years. So I would imagine something like 200, maybe a little less.
Yeah.
And when I talked to Brian, he said, well, no, we just do the ones that get damaged in storms and from accidents. We have never had a routine budget. Most utilities, consider the stuff that just snaps in storms, well, you gotta do that, and then they have a budget for routine replacements based on age and condition and those sort of things.
And you have to have inspection.
Yeah, so, which again, something like the GIS system and Empower would help you have all that catalog.
Right.
So I don't think you need to put that in this year's budget, because honestly, you're probably getting a few hundred done by the fiber companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of are getting a benefit there. But I really think you want to make sure the system deficiency study looks hard at that for you. And this time next year, you should be, for the first time, adding a pretty significant cost.
That's a good
For that, you know, that's probably $100,000 a year just in poles.
It's interesting, as so many large utilities are really making a big deal of hardening their.
Yeah.
Hardening, which means, proactively going out and trading. That's right.
Sorry. Yeah. So there's a lot less to do with preventative things than with emergency.
That's not our.
And there's a lot of things that have been done in recent Hardwick ahead of the conversion work that was done. Bringing everything up to 7,200, not having various voltages. The upgrade of some of the power lines and some of the streets here, so that stepped us in the right direction. So a continuum is what we gotta look forward to. To keep it working.
It's usually, the distribution pole replacement is a companion budget item with kind of the vegetative maintenance. You've got the vegetative maintenance in your budget, but you don't have the poles. So that, it's just something I noticed isn't there. Ryan at least says it's never been budgeted separately. They just do what needs to get done, whether it's a project like you're saying, or, something that broke.
Right.
They do it then, but it ought to just be routine. We're gonna find 200 poles to replace this year.
You're also gonna have to, at some point, do an interconnection upgrade between Hardwick and Vulcan. to be able to one carry the other in case of a catastrophe.
That's right.
Transformers are, the Hardwick one, can carry. But wire capacity is very marginal.
Yeah.
Wolcott can carry Hardwick, but the wire capacity is not capable. So you have to create that upgrade.
And this will come out of system efficiency, the engineering firm will look at all that, and give you a recommendation. Reno will tell you, though, you still got at least number 6, if not number 8 copper on the system as well.
I don't believe any number 8.
No 8, but
Yeah.
you've got number,
plenty of things.
you've got number 6 going a really long distance.
Mhm.
You take a number 6 with the amount of people it's serving and all the line marks you're getting off that thing.
Okay.
I mean, I've had Brian test some of those, and you have a lot of voltage problems on those lines. And so, again, this is the stuff an engineering firm will categorize for you, put in a priority for you, lay out a 5-year plan. Say, here you go.
So how do we get that started? You have a proposal from someone to do that?
Yep, it's easy to do. A whole lot of people have done them recently. Everyone does them on a routine basis. You know, you'll probably, it has to go out to bid, but you'll probably end up with the same firm that does them for all the units, and who's currently working for you on in other ways. So both the LM, the other
Is
one.
that something you're put out to bid for? We have to do it.
Depson never has, but it's easy to do. You know, and I can help Sarah figure it. We just send Sarah, we put out to bid more, so it's easy to do.
Yeah.
And we send it to a few firms and get their prices. You know, I know what I paid, I know what Hyde Park paid, and that's why I put 35,000 in the budget, so.
That's a great way to start Sarah off too, because it gets her in sort of proactive posture with the plan. That's great.
You say we haven't done one since 1998?
1898 is the last time I'm out. And again, I don't know the person before Mike, but I know Mike's particular skill was understanding the system.
Right.
So I'm sure in his head,
I don't need to pay.
he figured I got it.
Yeah.
And he may even be right, it's not to criticize him.
Yeah.
It's simply, but the theory, the reason the state pushes it is.
Because you can
different
get.
setup. Yeah, you can get blinders, and so get that third party to come in and really just take a distant look at you. You know,
Yes.
so that's the idea.
So right now, when are we hoping to have Wolcott back online generating?
I think, no, I think it would be 2026 at the earliest.
So in our rate case, basically. We can take the approach that Wolcott's out of the picture.
Yeah, the power supply number that you've already got for your budget from BEPSA assumes no generation there, because that's what I told them.
And
So
in
they've
the
already-
rate case, we basically keep that out of the picture.
No, they actually put the extra cost into the picture.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so, because that's called a known and measurable. The power supply, usually you only can look backwards, but with a known and measurable, which power supply is considered. Since BEPSA's created the 25 budget, you get to actually use that for the power
Right.
supply.
And then the known and measurable will take into account, which is big time for us, is our change in headcount and our change in healthcare.
Yeah, all that you can count. We won't be able to count any salary increases for next year because you won't have a negotiated contract by then.
Yeah.
In a year where you already had negotiated that year, you can actually count that going forward, but since this is a negotiation year, you won't be able to do that unless you're done by then, by the time Beth files, but I don't believe you will be.
Okay.
So you get some, you lose some, the way the system works, it's imperfect. I think it's crazy to force you to look backwards because it means you're always behind. And
And
always.
Steve Harmon does a really good job trying to pull every penny out that he can for us, he really does.
Where are we with the IRP?
The IRP, Dubsa doesn't have time to work on it for now, that's why we got an extension, so really nothing else has happened since we talked, really the last time we ever done. Having everything to come and talk to you about that, so, you know, we'll gear the next step of that up once, Steve Harmon and Amanda have some bandwidth at Dubsa. To start churning through that document. I think it's gonna be a pretty big lift. Normally, these are not very big lists. You know, the manager's job is to really read through it and make sure that it reflects the local condition. I suspect, this will be a pretty big lift, here, because yours is both. It's been written the same way for a really long time. It's been written in the way of a electric utility that doesn't run that way anymore. So I think, you know, it's gonna take some doing. I think, but I had the same thing when I got the Morrisville. The first one I did, I really had to dive in much deeper than is normal. So expect her to have to just dive pretty hard on that. And there'll be a lot of support for her, folks who can help, a lot of us can help, so. She'll probably have to dive deep.
Well, look, it's gonna be nice so we can set a record of being in under an hour.
I know, my last one was an hour. We got that.
This town has asked, they would like to schedule who's gonna be representing HED at the second select board meeting each month for the next 6 months.
The next 6 months,
Yeah.
so it's only once a month, right?
Yes, it's at the second meeting each month.
And I have told Sarah that occasionally you'll expect her to take a turn. I said I don't know what the frequency has been historically, but I have alerted her that she.
Yeah, I think it's good for her,
Signed up.
because she gets some visibility.
I might suggest you don't have her do January, but maybe put her in February, at least let her get her feet under her feet before she has to go, but that's up to you.
Did everybody in this, not everybody in the select board met it?
No, only.
It might be good. It might
Maybe it should, maybe it could.
I think it might be good for Jane.
Eric is the only one that met
Now, why don't you plan on that, just,
for January. Yeah. So, and I didn't tell her what day it was, but I did tell her that she'd be in the rotation with the rest of you on some frequency. Yeah. So that's as much as I told her.
Who else in February?
I think Lynn really did not. She got me last time. 'cause I don't-
I've also told Sarah that she needs to give you bullets before you go, when it's your turn.
Great.
March.
I'll do March.
These are Thursdays at what time?
6.
I believe.
April, May, June,
I'm looking at,
It's the second,
I'll take
second
it.
Thursday of the month, is that what it is?
yes.
I said April,
Which one?
April, please.
I think I got May.
got June. Reno's got June.
I'll send y'all an email with the exact.
And you know, guys, I'm fine if something comes up, you know, we can just swap. So like if something comes up for me, I'll just call you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. That'll work.
Cool.
Just remind me.
Okay.
I'm forgetting.
Oh, should I put it in there? I signed up for May, right? So,
You signed up for.
Actually,
so May. And
I'll send you a reminder.
it's gonna be
for
the
the town
second.
Thursday.
Second
And
Thursday.
apparently they send you an invitation, send you a notice,
Oh,
says,
I believe you.
yeah, that's what I was told. Cause I thought I should have gone in on, what was it, the first Thursday of the month? And they said, no, they will send you a notice and,
Huh?
oh, okay.
Well, what I'll do
But
is
anyways.
when I respond to her to tell her who's coming, I'll copy y'all.
One thing just for you to know, not for the minutes, but just for you and Sarah is, when you're doing the next agenda, make sure you have an executive session, because I think from some of the questions that came up about the things, there's also the land issue.
Yeah.
There will be some of those that Sarah's not gonna have answers to, but since I'll be here anyway.
Do we need to have an executive session, if any developments?
You don't need any tonight, so I'm just saying, that'd be a good transitionary thing. She and I will already talk about it, it'd be a good time to brief you on where things are, so that you're level set with her before I got out.
Yeah.
So we'll just make sure that there's an executive session on that agenda for you, but there's nothing you need to know. Right.
Pace. Municipal paces. Driving me nuts.
Awesome.
Any more issues, comments? I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I second that.
Yeah, all in favor? All right.
Minutes should duly note for Lynn that 54 minutes.